I want to welcome back the toughest man in all of Arkansas, Larry Nichols. How you feeling, Larry?
I'm here, buddy. I'm okay.
It's good. It's good to have you back on, Larry. And, I like these shows where we've got a very clear idea of what we're going to be talking about from the word go. You called me this morning to tell me that you have a growing concern about perhaps some unintended consequences stemming from your decades-long effort to expose Bill and Hillary Clinton. What's on your mind, Larry?
Well, first off, let me apologize for Rosie barking. She thinks there's somebody outside.
Totally okay.
Well, it goes back to 91.
Mm-hmm.
Bill and I, had a falling out. And I made a commitment. He was going to run for president, and I made a commitment that I was going to get him. During the original beginning campaign, I used Star Magazine. Nobody believed me.
Right.
And I used Star Magazine, of all things, kind of like an Enquirer.
Mm-hmm.
And I broke a story that there's going to be a girl come out. Well, in that day, the way the national media would do, they would call in to the local AP bureau chief and ask them if there's anything to what I was saying. And of course, they had already planted this guy named Bill Simmons to say, no, I was a nut. Well, I told Star, here's what we'll do. Print the story. Don't put out a girl's name. I already knew it was Jennifer. I'd gotten Jennifer $125,000. Print the story. Don't get out the name. And then Simmons will come out and say he checked all of it out. It's all bogus. And when he does that, we'll slam him. They agreed to it. That's what we did. Well, then, all hell broke loose. All hell broke loose. But here we go with an unintended consequence.
Yeah.
Bill was like number 11 on the ticket back then. He was way down. He was a nobody. But because of Jennifer, people felt sorry for him because of Hillary. And all of these redneck guys, it didn't bother them. They thought it was good that he was with Jennifer.
Wow.
Considering Hillary.
Uh-huh. Because Jennifer Flowers was beautiful. She was a model or something,
yeah.
right?
Right, yeah. So anyways, he goes from number 11 to number 2.
Whoa.
In a matter of a week.
Huh.
Well, here we go again. So I go back after him. I'm back after him. And then lo and behold, I'm telling everybody in the country, he's going to win the presidency. The media in Washington, they were so cool. They said, look, they'll go through him like, through a goose. He'll never get there. I said, you don't understand the Arkansas system. He'll get in there as easy as pie. And when he gets in, he'll clear that place out. Well, he got in and he cleared it out. And any old guard people that didn't want to go along with him, he exposed them for stuff they had on them.
So you mean this was the firing of the U.S. attorneys? Is that what you mean? Clear them all out?
Yes. Yeah, all of it. Congressmen, senators. You'll remember it because back in that day, you had Democrats say, I didn't leave the party left me. Remember that?
Yes.
That was Bill Clinton cleaning the plow of any people that would not go along with him that were in Congress or the Senate.
Now, Larry, it's almost impossible to find a link to the Star Magazine article, but I found a photo here of Jennifer Flowers doing a press conference at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City, and she's got a printout of Star Magazine that featured the headline, My 12-Year Affair with Bill Clinton, plus the secret love tapes that prove it.
Yep, that's it. Now, the problem with that press conference that Larry Clayman did, and she came out and claimed it was a love affair.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just shaking my head. Bill Clinton didn't love anybody. Nobody. Now, I had an attorney that lived right next to her that came on with me to prove that he did do it because he had tapes of him going in her apartment. And then one Saturday, he was left beat for dead. So he fled.
But he lived through
So
that
anyway,
beating, didn't he? He was beaten badly,
yeah,
but
Gary
lived.
Johnson. Yeah, Gary Johnson. He lived, but he was beaten terribly. So here goes Clinton to Washington. The only thing I could do then was to set him up over and over and over. The American media would not cover a story about him. I don't care if he burned the Eiffel Tower. They would not print a story about him. That was the power the Stevenses had. So what I had to do is I had to go over to England and use the, come on, what is it over there? The Sunday Telegraph.
Uh-huh.
I gave them stories. They printed them. Then it got so big over here that the mainstream media here had to cover them eventually.
Pretty smart.
And then I started baiting and switching the different media here. I would call up the Washington Times and one of the reporters here, whichever one I wanted to work with, and I'd say, listen, the Washington Post fixing to break a story. I'm going to give you a head up on it, but you better get on heads up because they're coming out with it. They really weren't.
But playing the competition against each other.
Every day, year after year after year. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason I give you this background and the reason I'd call it unintended consequences, what we did, what Bill and I did, which is in his book, by the way, what he and I did, is we created probably one of the most polarized, divisive places in time in this country to date. To that date. Number one, nobody had ever called the president the names I called one. Right. You know, there was a certain decorum that had always been accepted, and you just didn't call a president, a sitting president, the cokehead,
right,
or a womanizer. And you may have known it, but you sure didn't ever say it. Right. Well, I did. I unloaded everything. You know, I unloaded it all. Well, we divided up the country. Then you were either a Clinton or an anti-Clinton. And that went on into his entire administration. Now look at us. The same things that we did back with Clinton are being done today. This nation is absolutely, Jason, divided. Yeah. And if you like Trump, then you're hated by the other side. If you are hated by the other side, you're hated by Trump. Trump throwing names at people just like I threw names at Clinton. I mean, it's a technique. It's something that's we developed quite well, actually. But the problem is the unintended consequences.
Yeah.
Here we are coming up in 2-3 months on an election that we know, number one, there's going to be voter election fraud, massive.
Yeah.
Number two, we know we're not going to be able to trust anything in it. We know probably Trump will win, but the Democrats are already loading up. I think they've got 1,200 attorneys already hired to challenge every vote.
It's amazing. So, Larry, that's a little bit, they're kind of taking pieces out of recent history, right? I mean, I remember thinking it was quite crazy when they had that lawsuit, Bush v. Gore, and it was like suddenly the election was a lawsuit. Everybody's been talking about how likely that is to happen again. What do you think about voting by mail, Larry? It was crazy for a couple of weeks there. We had Democrats more concerned about defunding the post office than defunding the police.
Voting by mail is a license to steal the election. Whoever puts the mail in the mailbox determines who the votes go to.
How is that?
Well, I mean, I stick a bunch of ballots in an envelope and throw them in the drawer and put names on them and send them in, and guess what?
That's it.
We don't have a security system for mail-in ballots. The only way to vote and vote honestly and get your vote counted is to go up and vote and demand a paper ballot.
Right.
You do anything else, and your vote's going to get caught up in election fraud.
It seems these days that election fraud is more American than apple pie.
It is, but it's been that way for a long time.
Wow.
It's always been that way with me, going all the way back to guys like Capone and those guys, man. It's always been a part of our history.
Right. Absolutely.
You go back to the 5 Bowers. I mean, back then they just stuffed everything, rigged everything. Back during the Civil War, everything was a lie. I mean, come on.
So how can an honest election hope to prevail? It's just got to be so overwhelming that even all the cheating can't defeat it?
You do just what happened last time with Trump. You get your side fired up, and you make them show up. This is no time for the weak-hearted.
Yeah. It's interesting, Larry. You know, I know you have a lot of experience looking at traditional polls and things like that. I don't know anything about them. I just see them on the news, and I always feel like it's nonsense. The things that I'm looking at, like the number of likes on a Rachel Maddow video interviewing somebody about how great Joe Biden is, there's like thousands of thumbs down on these videos with a couple of thumbs up. And the viewership of Joe Biden's abysmal performance and the live streams of the DNC, you know, of their conference, and then compare that to the RNC, I noticed that a lot of the headlines were talking about the television ratings for the DNC exceeded. They're talking about specific channels, you know, and I think it's fair to say that the demographic that's probably voting for Joe Biden could be an older demographic that's more traditional in their media consumption, watching television rather than videos on the computer. But when you look at the live streams of the Republican convention versus the Democrat convention, it's overwhelming how many more viewers there are, like 100,000 versus 12,000.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, that's absolutely wrong. Biden's viewership, the DNC viewership, is made up almost 80% of young.
Then why aren't they watching it online? Nobody's watching him.
Nobody's watching him.
Too busy rioting.
Too busy rioting, and then the way you always take care of the young on election day, just go around to college campuses and give the fraternities and sororities beer parties free. And they won't show up and vote.
Oh. Man, no end to the dirty tricks. You should write a book, Larry, just these tiny little, you know, election advice, you could call it.
Well, it's like Larry, what's his name? Anyway, from the University of Virginia, political science. My God, my brain's gone dead. Anyway, the head of the department once said, you know, I could never teach. Larry Sabato. He said, I could never teach campaigning in a college.
Why not?
And I said, why? He said, well, because nothing we do in education matches what you do in real life. And that's true. But, you know, you just got to be a sleazebag. You just got to be willing to be a sleazebag and stick, you know, and get in there and mix it up with them.
Right. So, Larry, I was just talking with Jack Cashel earlier today. Actually, he sends his regards. He made a point of asking me to say hello to you. And
tell him I said hey.
I will. Jack is doing great work. He's just released a book called Unmasking Obama. And he and I were talking about how this organization OFA, which began as Obama for America and has morphed into Organizing for America. Larry, I think Barack Obama might be the first president to use cyber warfare tactics in campaigning. And it's like a war that's going on right now with these elections.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. As a matter of fact, I would come closer believing that Obama used the Russians, the Chinese, the Mongolians or whatever,
Ukrainians,
to stack the Ukrainians, to stack the internet certainly more than Trump.
Yeah.
You know, you got to understand, guys, Trump walked into this election in 2016, believe it or not, hate to say it, like an arrogant dummy. Okay? He just walked in, thought he could just bull his way through like he could in corporate world, and he got his button tight.
Right.
Now he's a much smoother politician. You'll notice he's a little bit.
Larry?
So,
yeah,
I'm sorry. So I'm just telling you, you know, he's a much more educated politician today than he was in 2016. And that's going to work to his advantage. And he's growing his crop of supporters, which has got to be done. Yeah. Now, his next moves are going to be significant. He's going to shut down. Listen to me. He's going to shut down those cities that the rioting is taking place. He's going to fund the businesses to start back up. He's going to make up losses to the police forces in those cities.
Yeah.
You know why he's got to do it?
Well, tell me.
Well, because this is something that's not very well known, but you realize there is an entire army in this country of blue uniform police.
Oh, I thought you meant Obama's private army.
Up. Well, they're getting fed up with being the butt end of everything.
Yeah.
Now, they will take this country away. That's why Trump stays so friendly with them. They may take it away from Congress, but they're not going to take it away from him. They need a leader, and they know it. But they are positioned to rise up right now. They've had it. You can't blame them for having it. You can't blame them.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons why he needs to do what you're talking about, Larry. The cities are being torn apart. I mean, as I walk around New York, this is not a statistic or anything, but it appears to me that at least 30 to 40% of all businesses, retail businesses, are closed. And it really increased over the past few days because, you know, it's September 2nd here. So it seems to me that a lot of people maybe had their leases run out end of August and they didn't want to renew them because they're losing money and their businesses are getting smashed. Now, Larry, we've got a regular... Yeah.
What? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Businesses are...
Well, think about what's happening to the culture here. The brick and mortar store dying faster than fish out of water. You know, all of these riots, all of the discontent, all of the polarization between Democrat and Republican. I mean, Congress fighting, can't get anything done. Look at all of it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we're in a critical moment.
We absolutely are. The New York Times has a headline that retail chains are abandoning Manhattan because it's unsustainable. And they're saying that they're closing outlets in New York City because they're struggling more than branches elsewhere. I think a lot of people have just been too afraid to go outside. This is from a few weeks ago, but I've noticed this myself. Some GNC and this is saying that JCPenney's, Kate Spade's, Subway, Pan Quotidian, Victoria's Secret, The Gap, Arc Restaurants, the Bryant Park and Grill. I mean, it's so much more, even from August 11th. As I said, I noticed just over the weekend when we switched from August to September, it seemed like tons of places were going out of business. There's something else I want to ask you about, Larry, because the boy 26, who's a regular viewer, he wanted me to ask you about this book, All Out War, written by Edward Klein. This book alleges that Antifa went to Syria to train in war-fighting tactics. Do you know anything about that?
I know all about it. And Ed Klein is a brilliant reporter. And if it's in that book, it's real. He's verified it.
Mhm.
And they did. Well, they didn't go there. That's where they originated from. Don't you know who Antifa is? Antifa is a spinoff of Al Qaeda.
Really?
You know, when we thought we ran Al Qaeda out of Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria and all those places, you never get those bunches. It's just like trying to hold water. You know, yeah, you may stop it over here. They'll just pour it out over another place.
Right.
But Ed's right. It's a spinoff. That's where it's coming from.
Wow. And the
then
Daily Mail confirms that.
Yeah, then you've got these antagonist groups that want to tag along and think it's so cool.
Wow.
And they don't know what they're doing. They don't understand what they're doing to the very structure of our society. As a matter of fact, they don't care.
Wow. Wow, this was published October 2017, and I haven't even heard about it. It's
I worked with him on it, so that's why I know about it.
Wow. Klein makes the shocking revelation that an FBI investigation discovered collusion between American anarchists, ISIS, and Al Qaeda. But, I mean, that's got to be facilitated by Obama, no?
Yep. Yeah, I worked with a FBI guy named Bill Duncan, and that's how we gathered some of that.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, Larry...
And that got a little hairy.
Yeah. What other unintended consequences do you see happening? I mean, obviously, you sort of set the stage by perhaps going outside the box or coloring outside the lines with regard to the types of criticism that can be brought against presidential candidates. But unintended consequences, it's kind of a doctrine of any operation at all, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, look, I didn't invent that. I'm just telling you. This is where it came from. You want to know the chronology. You want to know its birthplace. Now you can verify everything I've told you.
Wow.
Every bit of it. Now, and I'm telling you, the unintended consequence is not over yet. It still remains to be developed. Election day and the days after.
What do you anticipate?
Well, Trump's going to win. Democrats are going to make a push before Trump's going to win. The Republicans are going to at least tacitly take the House and the Senate. And then the Democrats are going to put a push legally on to try to eliminate and shut down the Electoral College.
Huh.
It's the only way they've got to turn this election around, and they know it.
But can they do that after the election? Won't it not make a difference? It only apply for the future?
No, they can do it after the election if they want to. They can get the courts to buy it.
Wow. And just go by the popular vote? Throw away the Electoral College?
Throw away the Electoral College. Just go to court.
Wow.
What they'll do is they'll go to the lower federal court, get a fast track to the Supreme Court, and then you wait 2 or 3 years at the Supreme Court for it to be adjudicated. And then you're waiting all that time. I'm telling you, that's what they're going to do.
What happens to the presidency during that time? Nancy Pelosi takes over?
No, it's in limbo.
So who would be president? Trump?
Trump, yeah.
But they wouldn't want that, would they?
Yeah, well, Trump will be president, but he'll be stripped of many powers.
Got it.
You know, he'll be basically sanctioned. If they pull that stunt, he will be sanctioned, which means his executive order abilities are gone until it's resolved. Ain't it a wonderful world, Jason?
Yeah. What's that?
I said, ain't it a wonderful world?
I mean, I'm still hopeful, and I still remember the wonderful aspects, but it's been a little bit rough the past few months. I want to take you back, Larry, to, what was it? I guess 2000, Bush v. Gore, this lawsuit to figure out the results of the election. I remember thinking at the time that it was quite ridiculous, and I think we're basically... was it unprecedented? Had there ever been a lawsuit between presidential candidates like that before?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there
Yep,
has.
sure had.
Hmm.
I think there had been 3 before. I can't tell you what there are right now. I could look it up, but there were 3
Right.
before.
Wow. Determination of controversy as to the appointment of electors. It's Title III of the U.S. Code. And so there was this whole lawsuit about the hanging chads and everything. Most people are saying that they expect this election to be even more contentious. You know, they have to be anticipating a Trump win to be a likely outcome, unlike the 2016.
Well, see, now let me explain something, Jason.
Yeah.
Let's get the record straight. 28 states in this nation. The members of the Electoral College can vote their will regardless of how the state votes, how the population of the state votes.
And when did that change
Only
occur?
26 states have to vote the will of the people in their state. When did that occur? It's been that way for probably 75 years.
Oh.
Just nobody knew it, except sleazeballs.
Right. Seems like if you could bribe those 26 electors, you're in business.
You can. I did.
Whoa.
I did. In the old days, you could buy their vote for $5,000.
Wow.
Now, I would assume it's going to be a little bit more.
Right. It's scary, Larry.
I'll tell you what I did. You can check it out. I did Bill Boshear's program out of Cincinnati. Cleveland, I'm sorry, out of Cincinnati. And I'd telling him a story. He didn't believe me. I picked up the phone with them on the line. It was on the air. And sold a vote to an elector for $5,000 right there on the air.
But why would you do that? Doesn't that get you basically implicated for breaking the law?
I didn't break the law.
Oh.
I went to somebody that didn't have to vote the way of the people.
Huh. But it's not influencing a public official or something?
No. 28 states, they can vote their will. If their will is influenced by money, fine. If their will is influenced by their belief system, fine. Not much of that anymore, but, it doesn't matter. You're not breaking the law. The ones that break the law is the ones that you go to where you get somebody to change his vote from the will of the people. Like that'll get you in trouble.
Wow.
Man, you got to play. Politics is a contact sport, Jason.
I hear you.
Don't forget it, man.
Yeah. And I agree with what you were saying at the top of the call, Larry, that Donald Trump, I think, came in perhaps a bit naive. Sometimes when you have confidence in your abilities in one area and you try to apply them in another, you might learn some of the nuances of the new area. And it's like anything. I mean, your first day on the job, you kind of don't know necessarily what you're doing. But 3 years in, you're already, part of the crew. So Trump seems to be in a better position.
And he's in a much better position because, you know what? He has proven now what we had all hoped, if we could ever get the damn politicians out of office.
Right.
And get businessmen in office, things could be better. Well, he's made it better because he's a businessman. Stopping all of this trade crap, stopping all of this stuff like that. He's got so much money, he doesn't need to rip us off.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to see how harsh she's been with China. I don't know how much you've been following this whole controversy with the phone app TikTok, but
well, you got to understand. You got to understand. That kind of been out of the world for about 4 or 5 months this year.
Believe me, I know. Well, just to get people up to speed as far as what I know about it, TikTok is this app on the phone, Larry, that allows people to make, cute, funny, short videos and send them to their friends, almost like a text messaging version of video. And basically, Trump said TikTok is being used to spy on Americans, and he wanted to force the sale of ByteDance, which is the company that makes it. They wanted them to sell it to an American company, and they were talking about Microsoft. And what's just come out very recently in the past day or two is that the Chinese have balked at this, saying that there are artificial intelligence algorithms in the app that they have, intellectual property that you just can't force them to sell. And it's interesting to note, Larry, that,
Trump's going to shut it down. He's going to shut it down. He's got to for national security. When China tells you there are algorithms that are in it that are proprietary, then get them out. Don't pass go, and he's going to. Trump's just got to have 2 months to run his campaign, get reelected, and then he will start doing the business.
Right. Yeah. The thing I find interesting about this TikTok flap is that, February of this year, the Department of Justice indicted the Chinese telecommunications giant Huawei and accused them of RICO, arresting one of their executives, and there is a case pending in New York. And it's interesting because, Trump says, hey, get TikTok out of here. TikTok says, no, we're not going to do that. I feel like, Larry, there's a cold cyber war going on right now where China's trying to install software on everybody's phone. I mean, if TikTok becomes a very popular app, like Facebook, you think about these things, they're on everybody's phone. And once they get to a certain number of phones, what if they can do something through that software to affect everybody, crash the phones, get it? Who knows what they might do? But
Jason, we've reached that point in technology where literally now we could all say in an honest voice, there's nothing sacred anymore. You can't hide a conversation if it doesn't want to be hid. You're not going to slip something through somewhere. It'll get caught. This technology just has advanced, and we're heading so far, so fast towards AI. It's scary.
Right.
And AI is the thing they don't even allow you to say in Washington, D.C. in public forum.
Really? I think they're already using it against us, Larry.
They probably are, but I'm just telling you, they won't let it be said in a House hearing or a congressional hearing because it scares the living bejesus out of everybody. Because when AI kicks in, then there are no jobs for people.
Well, that's certainly one concern, but I mean, as I said, I think right now it's being used in various tools. It's really a combination of all these things, Larry, because, even what you and I are doing right now, we're creating this video. It's going on to YouTube. YouTube, as a normal function of what it's providing to people, it's going to transcribe every single thing that you and I say. We already know that the FBI and other law enforcement bodies are looking through all these videos. I mean, I support them doing this in terms of trying to locate people who are rioting and looting, but it causes me to think about some of the capability that they have. If you say something, if I say something, it can be automatically flagged, sent somewhere, pulled out of this video. You're right. There is no hiding anything.
That's right. That's right. Well, Jason, here's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Good Lord willing, the creek don't rise. Next week, I'm going to give you a story that nobody else has in the world.
Okay.
But right now, I need to get off before I tax my throat.
No, I want you to take it easy for sure. So, okay, we'll
Buddy,
reconnect.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, Larry. I have to tell you, I was a little worried when we spoke last week, but I'm glad you're sounding strong and feeling well again. People know that you've been recovering from a long illness here, and I want to remind our viewers, we've got a lot of people watching these videos each week, Larry, and I hope that they will visit nicholslive.com/donate. People can get all the information they need there to financially sponsor Larry. If you go to paypal.com and use his PayPal address, nicholslive@aol.com, you can send Larry a financial payment of your choice. You can also stick some money in an envelope and mail it to him in Conway, Arkansas. If neither of those methods are acceptable, you can contact Mary Ellen by text. Her number is right there on the screen. Larry, we'll see you next week, and I definitely want you to take care of yourself and get some rest. You're still recovering. Thanks for this update, and I'll speak to you soon.
You bet, buddy. Talk to you then.
Take care of yourself.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And thanks everybody for watching. I want to remind people you can sponsor Crowdsource the Truth by going to subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. It's the beginning of a new month. We got a lot of incredible guests coming up. Even later today on Charles Ortel is closing in at 4 p.m. Join me. I don't want to reveal who the guest is yet, but it's one of our most prominent and important guests ever. So please get onto Patreon and Subscribestar. Help me continue bringing you this kind of news and the guests that everybody loves to see. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you just a little later today.